Every day we wake up and face a battle, not with the world, not with people, but with our own thoughts. The way we think defines the way we live. Yet most of us allow negative thinking to take control, to poison our minds quietly, and to convince us that we are not enough. Negative thinking is not just an emotion, it is a slow poison that kills confidence, destroys dreams, and blinds us to the opportunities right in front of us. You see, negative thinking doesn't arrive with a warning. It begins with a whisper. You can't do this. You're not good enough. What if you fail? At first, we believe these thoughts are harmless, but they slowly grow stronger until they become our reality. The tragedy is we begin to protect our negative thoughts more than our hopes. We give them power over our future. The human mind is the most powerful tool ever created. It can either create miracles or destroy potential. The difference lies in how we use it. If we feed it negativity, it will give us fear, doubt, and anxiety. But if we feed it positivity, it will return confidence, clarity, and strength. The question is not whether negativity exists. It always will. The question is who is in control, you or your negative thoughts. Imagine standing in front of a mirror every morning and telling yourself you're not capable. You might think it's just words, but your subconscious believes what it hears repeatedly. Over time, you don't just think negatively, you become it. You start making decisions that match your belief of limitation. You stop trying, you settle for less, and you begin to live a life smaller than what you were meant for. Killing negative thinking doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing how you respond to it. Every challenge, every mistake, every failure can either be a reason to give up or a reason to grow. The same event can create two completely different lives, one ruled by negativity and one powered by resilience. So how do we kill negative thinking before it kills us? We start by becoming aware of it. Awareness is the first step to change. Every time a negative thought enters your mind, don't just accept it, question it, challenge it, replace it with a better one. Tell yourself, maybe I failed yesterday, but today is a new chance. Maybe I'm scared, but I'll try anyway. Then surround yourself with people and environments that fuel positivity. You cannot stay healthy if you keep breathing toxic air, and you cannot stay optimistic if you keep feeding your mind with negativity, whether it's people, media, or your own inner dialogue. Protect your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Most importantly, practice gratitude. Gratitude is the strongest weapon against negativity. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already there. The moment you appreciate what you have, negativity loses its power. You start to see beauty even in challenges, lessons even in pain, and hope even in uncertainty. At the end of the day, you have only two choices: to be a prisoner of your thoughts or the master of them. If you don't kill your negative thinking, it will slowly kill your passion, your joy, and your purpose. But when you choose to rise above it, you don't just change your mind, you change your life. So the next time that little voice whispers, you can't respond with a louder one that says, watch me. Because the greatest victory you'll ever win is not over others, it's over your own negativity. 5 keynotes of the speech. Awareness is the first step. Recognize when negative thoughts arise. Don't let them go unchallenged. Challenge and replace negativity. Every thought that limits you can be restructured into one that empowers you. Control your environment. Surround yourself with positive influences and guard your mental space from toxicity. Use gratitude as a weapon. Focus on appreciation to weaken negativity's hold over your mind. Be the master of your mind. Take control of your thoughts before they take control of your life. Awareness is the first step, yet it is often the most overlooked. Most people go through life on autopilot, letting thoughts drift in and out of their minds without paying attention to them. We hear a negative thought, dismiss it as trivial, and continue on, not realizing that every unchallenged thought strengthens its grip. Awareness is about more than just noticing that a thought exists. It's about understanding its influence, tracing its origin, and recognizing how it shapes your emotions, decisions, and actions. When you are aware of negative thinking, you gain the power to intervene before it snowballs into a pattern that controls your life. Think the mind as a garden. If you don't pay attention to what grows there, weeds will overtake the flowers. These weeds are negative thoughts. They start small, often disguised as reasonable concerns or cautious warnings. A thought like, I might fail, may appear harmless, but it's the beginning of a chain reaction that can limit your potential. Awareness allows you to spot these weeds early, to see them for what they are before they spread their roots too deep. Without awareness, negative thoughts multiply quietly, shaping your perception of yourself and the world around you, creating a reality that aligns with fear, doubt, and insecurity. Awareness also means recognizing patterns. Negative thinking is rarely random. It follows certain triggers, situations, or people. It often comes disguised as rationality, logic, or even self-protection. For example, when you are asked to take on a new challenge, a voice in your head might say, I'm not ready for this, or what if I fail? Awareness allows you to notice that these thoughts are recurring, to see that they are patterns rather than isolated incidents. By identifying patterns, you can start to understand the deeper beliefs driving these thoughts. Beliefs such as fear of rejection, fear of judgment, or a lack of self-worth. Awareness illuminates these underlying beliefs so that you can challenge them at their root rather than just treating the surface symptoms. Being aware of your negative thinking also requires honesty. It is easy to blame external circumstances, to point fingers at other people or events, and convince yourself that negativity is imposed from outside. But true awareness comes from looking inward and acknowledging that your reaction to events is within your control. It's not the events themselves, but how you interpret them that dictates your experience. When you are aware of this, you realize that negative thinking is not a permanent condition and that you have the choice to interrupt it. The practice of awareness can begin with simple techniques such as mindfulness or journaling. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts without judgment, to notice the ones that trigger fear, doubt, or worry, and to recognize how they make you feel physically and emotionally. Journaling allows you to record these thoughts, to see patterns over time, and to reflect on the moments when negativity takes hold. Both practices build the skill of observation, making it easier to catch negative thinking before it influences your actions. Another crucial aspect of awareness is the realization that thoughts are not facts. A negative thought is often a story your mind tells you, a story that may or may not be true. Awareness allows you to pause, to question the story, and to separate it from reality. Instead of reacting impulsively to a negative thought, you learn to analyze it, to ask, is this true? Is this helpful? What evidence do I have that supports or contradicts this? This process weakens the power of negative thinking and empowers you to choose a response aligned with your goals rather than your fears. Awareness is also about timing. The earlier you catch a negative thought, the easier it is to manage. Once a thought has been entertained repeatedly, it becomes a habit, and habits are harder to break. By cultivating awareness, you are essentially creating an early warning system for your mind. You catch the thought at the first whisper, preventing it from taking root and dictating your behavior. Over time, this practice of early recognition becomes second nature. You develop the ability to notice negativity instantly, to prevent it from escalating, and to redirect your focus toward constructive action. Ultimately, awareness is the foundation of mental mastery. Without it, all other strategies to combat negative thinking, affirmations, gratitude, goal setting, will be less effective because you are unaware of the thoughts that sabotage your efforts. Awareness gives you the clarity to see the internal landscape of your mind, the understanding to recognize what needs change, and the control to choose thoughts that serve your growth. It is not a one-time achievement, but a continuous practice. Each moment you spend observing your thoughts strengthens your ability to intervene, to challenge, and to shift your mind from negativity toward possibility, from fear toward confidence, and from limitation toward growth. Awareness is the first step in breaking free from negative thinking, and once it becomes a habit, it opens the door to every other strategy you might use to transform your mind and your life. Without awareness, we remain prisoners of our own thoughts. With it, we gain the power to take the reins and steer our minds toward freedom, resilience, and purpose. Challenging and replacing negativity is the next essential step after awareness, because awareness alone doesn't change your life. It simply allows you to see what's happening inside your mind. Negative thoughts are like shadows. They may appear real, but when you shine light on them, their power diminishes. The moment you start questioning these thoughts, analyzing them, and replacing them with constructive alternatives, you take control of your mind instead of letting it control you. This process is not easy because negative thinking often feels natural, automatic, and convincing. Yet every thought you challenge is a step toward freeing yourself from mental limitations. To challenge negativity, you must first understand that thoughts are not facts. The human brain has a remarkable ability to generate scenarios, predict outcomes, and imagine consequences, but it is not always accurate. A thought such as, I am not capable of this task, may feel true, yet it is often a projection based on fear or past experiences rather than objective reality. When you begin to question this thought, asking yourself whether it is entirely accurate or based on evidence, you disrupt its automatic hold over you. You create space to consider alternative perspectives, such as, I may not know everything yet, but I can learn, or I've handled challenges before and I can handle this one too. The act of questioning is a powerful tool. It forces your mind to pause, to evaluate, and to see beyond the initial negativity. Replacement is equally important. It is not enough to identify a negative thought and reject it. You must fill that mental space with a thought that empowers you. If your mind whispers, I can't, you respond with, I am capable of learning and improving. If it says, this will never work, you counter with, I will try, adjust, and grow through the process. Replacing negativity with positive or constructive thoughts rewires your brain over time. Repetition matters because the mind strengthens pathways through repetition. The more you replace negative thinking with empowering alternatives, the more natural this way of thinking becomes. Gradually, your mental habits shift from self-doubt to self-belief, from fear to courage, and from limitation to opportunity. Challenging negativity also requires emotional engagement. Simply repeating positive phrases or affirmations without belief or feeling often falls flat. You must connect with the emotion behind the thought and deliberately shift it. For example, when anxiety tells you, I will fail, acknowledge the fear, but then actively cultivate confidence, recall past successes, visualize a positive outcome, or focus on your skills and preparation. By emotionally anchoring the replacement thought, you make it more convincing to your subconscious mind, which is the ultimate decision maker behind your actions. The goal is not to eliminate caution or realism, but to prevent fear from paralyzing you. Another critical aspect is identifying the triggers that fuel negative thinking. Often, negative thoughts are reactions to specific situations, people, Or stressors. When you understand what triggers your negativity, you can prepare to challenge it proactively. For instance, if public speaking triggers thoughts like, I will embarrass myself, recognizing this allows you to consciously replace the thought before it takes over. You might remind yourself, I have prepared well, and I will focus on connecting with the audience, not perfection. Anticipating triggers and having replacement thoughts ready strengthens your mental resilience and prevents negativity from gaining momentum. Replacing negativity is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. It is about choosing a perspective that empowers you to act rather than being immobilized by fear or doubt. Life is full of challenges, mistakes, and setbacks, and negative thinking often magnifies them disproportionately. By actively challenging and replacing these thoughts, you shift your focus from what could go wrong to what you can do to improve, adapt, and succeed. This shift in focus changes your behavior, your decisions, and ultimately your outcomes. Over time, this process creates a feedback loop of positive reinforcement. Each time you successfully challenge a negative thought and replace it with a constructive alternative, your confidence grows. Your mind learns that fear and doubt are not commands to stop, but signals to evaluate and respond intelligently. You start to approach challenges with curiosity and resilience instead of hesitation and defeat. You begin to notice opportunities where previously you saw only obstacles. Challenging and replacing negativity also affects your physical state. Negative thinking often produces tension, shallow breathing, and fatigue. When you replace these thoughts with empowering ones, your body responds, your posture improves, your energy increases, and your focus sharpens. This mind-body connection reinforces the power of positive thinking, creating a cycle in which mental strength leads to physical vitality, which in turn strengthens your mental resilience. Ultimately, challenging and replacing negative thoughts is an act of self-leadership. It requires discipline, persistence, and courage because you are confronting the internal forces that have been shaping your life quietly for years. But the reward is immense: a mind that supports rather than sabotages you, a perspective that sees possibility instead of limitation, and a life guided by intention rather than fear. This practice, done consistently, transforms not only how you think, but also how you live, how you act, and who you become. Controlling your environment is one of the most powerful, yet often underestimated, ways to combat negative thinking. The human mind is deeply influenced by what surrounds it. The people we interact with, the media we consume, the physical spaces we inhabit, and even the daily routines we follow. Every input into your mind either feeds negativity or nurtures positivity, and if you fail to manage these influences, you unknowingly allow negative thinking to take root and spread. Your environment acts like soil for your thoughts. In toxic soil, weeds flourish, and the strongest plants struggle to survive. In fertile soil, growth is natural, effortless, and unstoppable. Negative thinking rarely emerges in isolation. It is often reinforced by repeated exposure to pessimistic perspectives, critical voices, or draining energy. If you spend time with people who constantly complain, doubt themselves, or focus on what is wrong rather than what is possible, your own mind begins to adopt similar patterns. The effect is subtle at first, a passing thought here, a sense of doubt there, but over time it compounds, shaping your beliefs, your decisions, and your outlook on life. Controlling your environment means being selective about whom you allow to influence your thoughts, intentionally choosing relationships and interactions that inspire challenge and uplift you rather than drain and diminish you. Media and information consumption also play a crucial role. Every day we are bombarded with news, social media updates, advertisements, and content designed to provoke fear, insecurity, or dissatisfaction. Without conscious control, your mind becomes a sponge for negativity. Even small doses of toxic information, consumed consistently, accumulate and create a distorted perception of reality. Controlling your environment requires discipline in what you allow into your mind. It means being intentional about the books you read, the videos you watch, the podcasts you listen to, and the social media feeds you follow. Every positive, educational, and uplifting input strengthens your mental resilience, while every negative, fear-driven, or discouraging input weakens it. Physical spaces also matter. Cluttered, disorganized, or chaotic environments create mental stress and amplify negative thinking. Conversely, clean, organized, and thoughtfully arranged spaces promote clarity, focus, and calmness. The connection between your external environment and your internal state is profound. When your surroundings reflect order and purpose, your mind naturally aligns with that energy, making it easier to maintain positive thinking and make intentional choices. Small changes in your physical environment, tidying your workspace, adding elements that inspire creativity, or creating spaces for reflection and relaxation can have a disproportionately large impact on your mental state. Routine and habit are additional elements of your environment that must be managed. The routines you follow every day, when you wake up, how you start your morning, how you structure your work, and how you wind down, all create a context in which your thoughts operate. Routines that are disorganized, reactive, or rushed often amplify stress and allow negative thinking to dominate. Conversely, routines that include intentional moments of reflection, planning, gratitude, and self-improvement create a structure in which positive thinking thrives. By consciously designing routines that support your goals and well-being, you make it easier to maintain control over your mind, even when challenges arise. Controlling your environment also means creating buffers against unavoidable negativity. Life will always present challenges, difficult people, and disappointing outcomes. You cannot remove every negative influence, but you can strengthen your capacity to withstand them by cultivating protective environments. Surround yourself with supportive communities, mentors, and allies who reinforce your confidence and resilience. Create spaces, both physical and mental, where you can recharge, think clearly, and reconnect with your purpose. Over time, these deliberate choices build a shield around your mind, reducing the frequency and intensity of negative thinking. Another critical aspect is accountability. When you control your environment, you also control the feedback loops that shape your behavior. Seek input from people who encourage growth, challenge complacency, and provide honest, constructive feedback. Avoid environments where criticism is destructive or where envy, gossip, and cynicism dominate. The energy you absorb from those around you becomes the energy you reflect in your own thoughts. By carefully curating your environment, you reinforce the mindset you want to cultivate, making positivity and productivity more natural and automatic. Ultimately, controlling your environment is about taking responsibility for what enters your mind. Negativity will always exist in the world, but you do not have to make it a permanent resident in your consciousness. Every person you spend time with, every piece of media you consume, every space you inhabit, and every habit you maintain either strengthens your mental resilience or erodes it. By consciously designing your environment to nourish, protect, and inspire, you create a fertile ground in which positive thinking, creativity, and personal growth can flourish. You do not merely react to the world, you shape the context in which your thoughts, actions, and life outcomes are determined. Gratitude is one of the most transformative tools we have against negative thinking, yet is often undervalued or overlooked. When negative thoughts take hold, they create a lens through which we view our entire life, one that emphasizes scarcity, failure, and lack. Gratitude, however, shifts that lens entirely. It trains the mind to focus on what is present, what is working, and what has already been achieved, creating a foundation of positivity from which all other thoughts and actions can grow. Practicing gratitude does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending life is perfect. It means acknowledging the full picture while deliberately choosing to emphasize what nourishes your spirit and strengthens your resilience. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to rewire the brain. Neuroscience shows that when we focus on what we are thankful for, neural pathways associated with positivity, reward, and well-being are strengthened, while those tied to fear, stress, and negativity weaken. This doesn't happen instantly, and it doesn't mean that problems disappear, but it does create a profound shift in perspective. When you actively recognize the good, you notice opportunities where previously you saw obstacles. You find solutions when previously you felt stuck. Gratitude is not a passive feeling, but an active practice that cultivates clarity and resourcefulness, allowing you to navigate challenges with confidence rather than fear. One of the most important aspects of gratitude is that it breaks the cycle of comparison and envy. Negative thinking often thrives on measuring oneself against others, highlighting perceived shortcomings and generating feelings of inadequacy. Gratitude interrupts this cycle. When you focus on what you already have, your abilities, relationships, experiences, and achievements, you are less likely to fall into the trap of envy. Gratitude turns your attention inward to the unique resources, strengths, and opportunities that exist in your own life rather than outward toward unattainable ideals. This inward focus fosters self-respect, personal growth, and a more grounded sense of self-worth. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. Life is full of setbacks, disappointments, and unexpected challenges. Negative thinking can exaggerate these moments, convincing us that failure defines us or that difficulties are permanent. When gratitude becomes a daily practice, it builds a mental reserve that allows you to maintain perspective even during tough times. You begin to notice that setbacks are temporary, that lessons can be learned, and that there are always elements to appreciate even in hardship. By shifting focus from what is lacking to what is available and valuable, gratitude transforms obstacles into opportunities for growth and learning. Practicing gratitude can take many forms, and consistency is key. Simple daily rituals, writing down 3 things you are grateful for each morning, expressing appreciation to someone else, or taking a moment to reflect on your achievements, create a habit of positive focus. Over time, these practices create a mindset that naturally resists negativity because the brain has been trained to scan for the good before it notices the bad. It is important to engage these practices genuinely. Superficial gratitude has limited effect, but deeply felt recognition of what is meaningful, helpful, and supportive has lasting impact. Another powerful effect of gratitude is its influence on relationships. Negative thinking often isolates us, convincing us that we are alone, misunderstood, or unsupported. Gratitude strengthens social bonds by helping us recognize and appreciate the people who contribute to our lives. When you actively acknowledge the value of others, whether through words, actions, or thought, you create positive feedback loops in relationships. Others respond with kindness, support, and reciprocity, which further reinforces your mental and emotional well-being. Gratitude turns relationships into sources of strength rather than stress, counteracting one of the most common sources of negativity in our lives. Gratitude also cultivates presence. Negative thinking tends to dwell on the past or worry about the future, pulling attention away from the present moment. By focusing on what you are grateful for right now, a small victory, a kind gesture, a moment of peace, you anchor yourself in the present. This presence reduces anxiety, improves focus, and allows you to engage more fully with your life. The mind becomes less susceptible to spirals of fear, doubt, And imagine failure because it is grounded in reality and what is tangible and meaningful. Ultimately, gratitude is not a mere tool for positivity. It is a way of perceiving the world that transforms how you think, feel, and act. It is a daily discipline that strengthens the mind, nurtures the heart, and empowers the spirit. By cultivating gratitude, you weaken the grip of negative thinking, replace scarcity with abundance, and create a mental environment in which growth, resilience, and purpose can flourish. It is a subtle but profound form of mastery over your mind, one that reshapes your life from the inside out. Being the master of your mind is the ultimate step in overcoming negative thinking, because all the strategies, awareness, challenges, replacements, and gratitude practices ultimately lead to this point. Mastery of the mind is not about controlling every single thought or denying the existence of negativity. It is about consciously choosing which thoughts to give power to and which to let pass. It is about understanding that while you cannot always control the circumstances of life, you can control your responses to them. This understanding is both liberating and transformative because it shifts the locus of control from external events to your internal state, giving you the ability to shape your life rather than being shaped by it. The first element of mastering your mind is self-awareness. You cannot lead what you do not observe, and the mind is no different. Mastery begins with noticing your thoughts, feelings, and impulses as they arise. It requires a continuous, conscious effort to monitor your internal dialogue, recognizing when negativity appears and observing its patterns. This awareness is not passive, it is active observation. You see the thoughts as separate from your identity, understanding that a negative thought is not a definition of who you are, but simply a passing mental event. This distinction is crucial because it allows you to create distance between yourself and the negativity, reducing its emotional impact and making it easier to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Another key aspect of mastery is discipline. The mind is naturally inclined to drift, to dwell on fear, doubt, and pessimism because these patterns are often reinforced by habit and survival instincts. Discipline is the act of consistently guiding your mind back to constructive and empowering pathways. It is choosing to replace negative thoughts with positive, solution-focused ones even when it feels uncomfortable or unnatural. This discipline is developed over time through repeated practice and is reinforced by patience and persistence. Just like training a muscle, the more you exercise control over your thoughts, the stronger and more automatic your mastery becomes. Focus is also central to mental mastery. A scattered mind is an easy target for negative thinking. By deliberately directing your attention toward goals, values, and meaningful activities, you reduce the opportunity for negativity to take hold. Focus requires clarity about what is important and a conscious effort to prioritize your mental energy toward constructive pursuits. Every thought, every decision, and every action is influenced by where your attention goes. By cultivating the skill of focused attention, you strengthen your mind's resilience against distraction, doubt, and fear, making it easier to maintain positivity and purpose. Emotional regulation is another crucial component. Negative thinking often thrives when emotions are left unchecked. Fear, anger, resentment, and anxiety amplify doubt and create mental chaos. Mastery of the mind involves recognizing these emotions without being controlled by them. It means allowing yourself to feel fully, but then choosing how to respond rather than letting the emotion dictate your actions. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, reflection, or even temporary detachment allow you to create the space between emotion and reaction. This space is where mastery happens, where you can decide how to think, feel, and act in alignment with your long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Mastery also requires intentionality in decision-making. Every thought and choice contributes to the life you are creating. When you are the master of your mind, you act with purpose rather than habit. You recognize that indulging in negativity, rumination, or self-doubt is a choice, one that can be replaced with a more empowering option. This conscious approach to thinking and acting creates a sense of ownership over your life, reducing feelings of helplessness or victimhood. You begin to understand that you are not at the mercy of circumstances, people, or fleeting emotions, but that you have the ability to steer your mind and therefore your life in the direction you desire. Another essential component is resilience. Mastery does not mean the absence of negative thoughts or challenges. It means the ability to recover quickly and maintain composure when they arise. The mind will inevitably face setbacks, failures, and external pressures, but a masterful mind views these experiences as information rather than judgment. Challenges are opportunities to reinforce mental strength, to practice control, and to refine thought processes. By approaching adversity with this perspective, you reduce the power of negative thinking and maintain stability, focus, and optimism even in difficult times. Finally, being the master of your mind requires a long-term commitment to growth. It is not a temporary fix or a single moment of insight. It is a lifestyle of conscious thought, deliberate action, and continuous self-reflection. Every day provides an opportunity to strengthen this mastery, whether through self-observation, mental exercises, positive reinforcement, or reflection on experiences. Over time, this consistent practice transforms not only your thinking, but also your behavior, relationships, and overall quality of life. When you achieve mastery over your mind, negative thinking loses its authority. You no longer react instinctively to fear, doubt, or pessimism. Instead, you respond with clarity, confidence, and intention. You create a mental environment that supports growth, resilience, and purpose. In this state, Your mind becomes your most loyal ally rather than your harshest critic, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with strength, focus, and unwavering belief in your own potential. As we come to the end of this journey, it's clear that negative thinking is not just a passing inconvenience. It is a force that can quietly dictate the course of your life if left unchecked. But it is also a force you have the power to confront, control, and ultimately transform. By becoming aware of your thoughts, you gain the ability to recognize negativity before it takes hold. By challenging and replacing limiting beliefs, you reclaim control over your mind and direct your energy toward growth and possibility. By consciously shaping your environment, you protect your mental space from the influences that fuel doubt and fear. By practicing gratitude, you shift your perspective from scarcity to abundance, reinforcing positivity at every turn. And by mastering your mind, you rise above temporary setbacks, fleeting fears, and the endless chatter of self-doubt, creating a life guided by purpose, clarity, and resilience. The truth is, no one can live for you, think for you, or decide for you. Your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts and the choices you make in response to them. Negative thinking is not inevitable, it is optional. Every moment you choose awareness over ignorance, courage over fear, and action over hesitation, you take one step closer to the person you are truly capable of becoming. So, commit to this process. Stand guard over your mind, nurture it with positivity, and confront negativity boldly and consistently. Your thoughts shape your reality, your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your future. Kill the negative thinking before it kills your potential, and in doing so, you will discover a life not defined by limitations, but by possibilities, resilience, and unwavering confidence in yourself. The power has always been within you. Now it is time to wield it.